Hello everybody, welcome back ladies and gentlemen, it's your host and your boy Memnon. Welcome back to Memnon Gaming. And this episode of the Elder Scrolls Online build guides, we're gonna look a closer look towards the Stamina Templar, the Templar, better known. And this build is a very easy build, very easy rotation as well, probably the most easiest one in the game as well, that's been constructed that you will find anywhere or everywhere with any other content creators. This is literally the most easiest one so far. I call it the Holy Wolf. You don't need any form of weapon power potions because everything is constructed in the build itself, and you're gonna see later on during the video. This build and the gear set that we are using for this build is the Relequen. If you have the perfected, go for the perfected. If you have the normal one, get the normal one so you can practice your rotation, so you can move yourself forward towards the harder contents and get the perfected Relequen. We're gonna add that. I'm gonna boost that up with the Deadly Strike. Deadly Strike is gonna give us a nice buff in form of a jabs. That's our main spammable that we are being using. I'm gonna add the Warden Kills and then Blackwood DLC. Afterwards, we're gonna redo another update of this build as well. I'm gonna do another DPS passing with the Warden Kills. I'm gonna showcase to you on the DPS passing as well what you need to do to make sure that you have the Warden Kills slotted perfectly. But it's gonna be an update as well for this build. The boss food and potion that we're using for this build is a lava food, essence food, and lava food satyr and essence of speed. My apologies for that one. And it's the only buff food that we are using within this build. A form of the best races that you have within the Elder Scrolls Online is this patch and an expansion. It's gonna be the Orc, the Dummer, and the Khajiits. With those three, you cannot go wrong with any of these three if you're using for the Templar. So by any means, let us take a closer look with the Stamina Templar, how this build is constructed from the base up, shall we?
So let us see how this build actually looks like in form of stats allocation itself. So I'm putting 46 points into stamina, so it's gonna give me a 30,603 max stamina, a max health of 19,824. Stamina recovered, that's 590. Weapon damage 5,378, and weapon critical a 61%, and a physical penetration of 3038. I'm using the lava food and satyr and the thief Monsterstone. And for my Veteran gear itself, because we are still in the flame of ambitions, so I'm gonna showcase you what you need to change there in the form of the Blackwood DLC itself. When I'm using on my front bar, I'm using dual daggers, Deadly Strike, nirn and main hand with the poison damage enchantments, sharpens with the flame damage enchantments. It gives me 1100 and flame damage, and the nirn give me 1169 poison damage. That increase as well the weapon damage by 50%. The Deadly Strike from a set itself, what does it give me? It gives me 126 weapon damage, 641 weapon critical, and and 626 another weapon damage. Increase your damage and your physical bleed poison abilities by 20%. And this set it buffs my biting jabs, my main spammable. I'm gonna showcase to you on the skill lines, extremely hard and extremely fast. Um, I'm using on the back bar. I'm using the Maelstrom bow, the perfected one. Do you need the perfected one? No, but if you can have it, it's nice because the what you get from the perfected one, you get 526 extra critical damage. So it's nice to have an extra crit on your back bar as well, trying to increase your crit as high as possible. What I'm using is the grondwulf mask, a shoulder slimecraw, um, both one piece for the crits. I'm getting 675 critical chance, and I'm getting 771 critical chance. So I'm using Relequen. I don't have the perfected, so I'm using the normal one. All in body pieces, and of course jewely pieces, necklace of bloody strike, and all in bloodthristy. So what is also different is if I'm using the new mystical item, so it's gonna be on my body pieces. So I need to make sure that I have one um, monster set is changed to the gear set that I'm using. So it's gonna be on my Relequen, so I need to make sure that my shoulder pieces is Relequen and my head pieces is slimecraw. Because why slimecraw over grondwulf? Because slimecraw gives me a more critical chance, 771 critical chance extra. So I'm gonna make sure that I have a headpiece of slimecraw and a shoulder piece of Relequen and a body piece of the mythical item. So I have 5 overall, 1 monster sets, and 5 pieces on deadly as well. Okay, hopefully that's understandable. And for my skills, what we're gonna use then in the Blackwood DLC is gonna be first spammable is the biting jabs. Find himself in the Aduric spear line. Biting jab, what it does, it gives is a jabbing ability, does 4,473 physical damage to all close by enemies, um, and gives you an additional 1,790 physical damage to all enemies nearby. Your closest target is going to be reduces movement speed by 40% for every second. And when you activate, it grants you major savagery, increase your weapon critical for 2,629. So we are stacking our weapon critical quite high, thanks we are I can cheat as well. The other abilities, and most of them are all going to be flex spots, but we're doing that for a form of bar buffers. Wing of Improvisation is a nice ability. If you want to use it, it can increase your stamina recovery. It gives you a nice burst heal and heal over time of 818. It's a nice heal to have in form of Maelstrom arenas. A Veteran that gives you a form of survivability um, and group contents if you have difficulty healing yourself and surviving. And of course, give you minor endurance, increases your damage that you can take by 5%. The other abilities we use the Camouflage Hunter. We're going to use this on a front bar and a back bar. So why are we using this on a back bar and a front bar? To get all-time major savagery. What is that going to do? Increase your weapon critical for 2629 for 5 seconds long and give you a minor berserk if I'm flanking an enemy. It gives me an increase of 5% on my weapon damage. Why I'm doing that? Because especially in DPS passing or in the moment that I'm in a group content and the tank turn the balls around me, this flanking ability becomes very important for me. So I'm having a major savagery on my front bar and back bar at all time. The ability that we're using, the third ability of the Fighter's Guild ability we're using is also an ability that we passively use as well and actively use as well in the form of rotation and passing on any form that we're doing is Bob Trap. Bob Trap is you release a trap on the ground that deals 4,577 physical damage and additional 2,078 physical damage for 18 seconds long. We make sure that this takes themselves all the way down. It grants you minor force, increase your critical damage for 10%, um, for the duration of the entire fight, and of course immobilize your targets. While we're using 3 pieces of Fighter's Guild ability, because the Fighter's Guild ability perk and passive works in a certain way. Every single Fighter's Guild ability that you have slotted, you have increase of 3% more weapon damage. So you have 9% weapon damage and more front bar. So we are now finished. We're gonna do another something differently, and this build as well, we're using, as you saw already, a werewolf ability. We're using Hircine Range. So we are not actively using the werewolf skill line. The only reason we are slotting is on a front bar and a back bar to make sure that we have at all time major brutality increases your weapon damage for 20%. So we got major savagery on the front bar and the back bar, and major brutality on the front bar and back bar. So increases all your necessary buffs. You have it 100% in front bar and your back bar. So that makes this build actually quite easy to use and quite simple to use. The passives of the werewolf ability is nice. You just activate them if you want to play as a werewolf. But actively, we don't play as a werewolf. Um, we only use this as a form of buff. But if you want to do change, sometimes it's always nice to play as a werewolf. You can do it as well. But normally, there's a normal setup we use for DPS passing, overland gameplay, trials, just name it. We use it like this without using the werewolf morph at all. So, on the major skill, our first ultimate and what we use actually actively is Shooting Star. Shooting star, what it's gonna do is gonna give us a flame damage of 17,314 flame damage to all nearby enemy, knocks them on the ground, and stunning them for 2 seconds. It's gonna do an additional fire impact to the target area of 5,305 flame damage every second for 30 seconds long. It generates 11 ultimate for each enemy hit by initial blast. So what the nicest thing about this ability that we're gonna use in the front bar, and why we're using it on the front bar, not only is gonna increase our max magical for 2% for every major skill that we have slotted, but why we're using it as well is for the major skills might of the guilds. Increases of a light attack and heavy attack for 40% for 3% 3 seconds long every single time you have a major ability granted on your bar. So we have, because we have one major guild in the front bar, so every light attack and heavy attack is going to be increased for 40%. That's why we have it slotted on the front bar, because the front bar is going to be our main tool cage for DPSing. So we're increasing our light and heavy attack for 40% for 3 seconds long. It's nice to have. So on the back bar, the first ability that we actively use is a restoration of lights. Its columns are the ritual of retribution. So what it's going to do is an area form of harmful lights we are harboring across us. It's going to give us 3,150 magical damage for every 2 seconds for 12 seconds long, and it ticks increase himself every 5 seconds. Your allies in their area who can activate Purify Synergy and can heal himself, and also heals you for 645 health and scales from your max stat. All the rest of ability we just mentioned, and the last ability that we are using on the back bar is the Ender's Hail. It pairs himself perfectly with the Maelstrom bow. The longer you tick, the harder it hits, and it hits for 1,594 physical damage to all the area nearby. So how does the for those who don't know how ritual retribution looks like, it's quite simple. It's area effect damage like this we're using. Okay, so as we buffed as well, without even using our potions and anything, we have 71.7% weapon critical on a back bar we're having, and 33,603 max stamina. So if we go on the front bar, we're gonna have 6,423 weapon damage and 76% physical damage at 33,603. We can use our potions for a form of stamina recovery, and it's going to increase at 2,119 stamina recovery thanks to our potion for essence and speed. Now, from the skill lines, the last skill lines we use on the back bar is the Florence Dawnbreaker. So what is the Florence Dawnbreaker going to do for us? It's nothing more than a bar buffer. There's the ultimate of the fighter skill ability. Because we're using 3 fighter skills ability on the back bar as well, what that is going to do to us and give us, like I said, a 9% weapon buff on the back bar as well. So our back bar is sticking quite strong thanks to this build and how it's constructed themselves. In form of champions points, champions point allocation, the most important champions point that we're actually using is on a blue champions points. We're increasing our critical chance as high as possible. The passive nodes that we're actively using is Fighting Finesse, Backstabber, Biting Aura, and Damager. Biting Aura I found it the most important one in the form of increasing our DPS overall. What we're having as well, we're having piercing, piercing activate to increase of offensive penetration, battle mastery, might, but also we're trying to increase our flawless ritual and a war mage. Why? Because we're using shooting star as well in form of a tick, trying to increase these babies as well to make sure that we have the highest form of DPS, so we can manage to reach the 80k, the 90k, and the 100k DPS by having, like I see, Damager activated as 100%, having Flawless Ritual and War Mage activated. You will reach the 80k DPS and the 90k and the 20 and the 100k very easily. It's just a matter of practice and rotation. Even though I'm not the best parser in the world, it's just a matter of practicing. I'm going to show you a very quick parsing so you can see for yourself with all the mistakes and everything, I still managed to hit solid numbers. Um, for the red parsing, it's nothing special here. The only thing we're using for survivability is the bundle of vitality to increase our health, the ironclad to increase our armor, rejuvenation to increase our health, magic, and stamina recovery. We're using Hero Vigor to increase our health. That's why we're using only blue stat food, because our health pool is quite so high, because thanks to these nodes. And we're using Bloody Renewal to increase our stamina recovery each time we kill an enemy. The rest of the nodes is only your own preference, what you need actually in form of gameplay. The green allocation is the same thing. It's all from a preference. The only thing I can tell you is use Routinier, a form of to increase your buff foods and buff drinks as long as possible. And the rest is all form of passive, what you want actively. Another passive I'll let you know, that's very important that you realize actually in the form of how the Templar actually works. You need to understand the most important thing in the Templar is that the Templar increases your critical damage by 10% because of piercing spear. You gain a minor protection for 6 seconds, reducing your damage taken by 5%. But the most important passive that you have on the Templar is the Burning Lights and the Balanced Warrior. What these two passives gonna do, if you're using a deal damage with the Adric Spear ability 4 times, and we're doing now a lot in the reputation thanks to our biting jabs, we get a 5,218 physical damage increased if you are stamina based, or 2,550 magical damage to your targets, whatever is higher of your pool tool cage. The nicest thing about the Templar uh, is the Balanced Warrior. That in this baby increases your weapon damage for 6 seconds. I give you a spell resistance for 2,600, excuse me, and 40 extra by having this passive activated. Additional passives I find it very important for you to have and to know that you need to make sure that you have these babies as alchemy. Make sure you have your alchemy buffed as high as possible to increase your potion duration. And of course, not like me, I'm working at it as well. Gourmand and Connoisseur, because they're two new builds. These are the babies. What a Gourmand and Connoisseur is going to do increases your buff food, and Connoisseur increases your duration of your drink food. You have it slotted at max, you're going to have 20% duration of your buff food and buff drinks. It's nice to have if you are doing overland gameplay, and generally you don't have to use that much buff foods. So thanks to this, it takes longer, it costs you a little bit less money. So let us do a little bit of parsing, and I'll showcase you very quickly how this parsing works, and hopefully you like it. Like I said, I'm not the best parser in the world. I'm gonna show you very quickly without editing or rendering and etc and etc etc. Just one straight flow. Of course, if you are practicing, you're gonna hit much harder than me, and of course you have your mid-max, your champions points, because I'm not mid-maxed completely because I only have 1,149, so I'm almost a minimum cap, but I'm not there yet. You're gonna hit much harder with this builds, much harder. You will hit at 80k extremely easy. So I'll start rambling. I'm gonna showcase you the parsing itself. Hopefully you like it. I'll see you in a bit.
As you can see that I've done a lot of mistakes actually during my pausing. Animation cancelling was not going so smooth. I used the wrong rotation a few times. Even then you can see my first try was 75k, but now it's 80k, 79, 80k. It's just make it a round number. It's a growing pausing. So if you practice your pausing, you can see, like I'm showcasing to you right now, even with all the mistakes, I hit solid numbers and high numbers. So you can easily hit the 90k DPS and 100k DPS even right now with this build. If you like this content, don't forget to comment down below, because it helps me. All form of feedback is always nice to hear. Most importantly, if you like my channel and you want to help me grow and continue creating more Elder Scrolls Online build videos of other videos of the Elder Scrolls Online, don't forget to subscribe yourself. It helps me grow. For the rest, I will see you on the updated version of this build on the Blackwood DLC. I have the Discord page written on the description down below. If you want to hit me on Discord as well for any form of questions, I'm always there to reply to you. Also, stay safe out there. I'll see every single one of you on the next build. Bye.